What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. Today I'm going to be talking about Overwatch events, and the clever strategy Blizzard seems to be using in order to take repeated events and somehow make them still feel incredibly fresh. Furthermore, by looking at the trends we've seen over the past repeat events, we might actually be able to make better predictions about future repeat events. So without further ado, let's get talking. So far, there have been 3 repeated events, being Summer Games, Halloween Terror, and Winter Wonderland. While they all share the namesake of and include the content from their previous iterations, both Summer Games 2017 and Winter Wonderland 2017 featured brand new overall themes. Summer Games originally was focused on sports and the Olympics, but in 2017 switched to a beach theme. It still had some new athletic skins, and perpetuated the Lucio Ball game mode, but the way Blizzard managed to make it feel original was by giving it a new aesthetic, without straying away from it being a summer event. The same thing happened for Winter Wonderland 2017. Originally, it focused on Christmas and gave everyone holiday-themed skins. However, for the event's second time around, it instead took on an Arctic or winter theme. In fact, the only skin that you could in any way argue as being tied to Christmas is Junkrats, since it's playing off the fact that Christmas is in the dead of summer for Australians. The only event so far that has not taken on a distinctly different theme for its second year is Halloween Terror, although it did feature some previously unused ideas. While in 2016, some of the legendary skins referenced the classic story of Frankenstein, 2017 had references to Dracula, which is another classic horror story. But outside of classic Halloween, it also took elements of Lovecraftian horror with Zenyatta's skin, and East Asian culture with Amaze. Now, at this point you may be thinking, sure, this is interesting and all, but why should we care? Well, as I said in the intro, by looking at these trends, we can make certain predictions about the future. For example, let's take a look at the very next upcoming event, Year of the Dog. The easiest prediction to make about this event is that it will in some way be themed around either the Lunar New Year or dogs, given that it's the name of the event and 2018's zodiac animal. However, the fact that it's so easy to make this connection is actually what makes me think it won't be this straightforward and simple. I've been making reasonably in-depth event predictions since the 2017 Summer Games. For each event, I've not only come up with my own ideas, but also I've seen hundreds directly from you guys via video comments, and thousands more through other places such as Reddit. And for every single one of these events, the Overwatch community's general predictions have ended up being at least a little off. For instance, people's predictions for Winter Wonderland 2017 almost exclusively consisted of Christmas or holiday-themed skins, which, of course, ended up not being the case. We didn't get a Reindeer Orisa, or Mrs. Claus Anna, or Grinch Junkrat, although that last one was also likely because of the copyright issues. Now, it isn't that these community predictions are necessarily bad, but rather that I think Blizzard predicted our predictions. Therefore, in an effort to make each repeated event still feel new and fresh, they found a way to impress us not only by adding great new content, but also defying our expectations. People didn't expect to get a Snowmobile Bastion, or an Ice Fisherman Roadhog. That's not to say that nobody predicted these skins, but rather that they weren't even close to being any of the most popular ideas being talked about before the event started. The vast majority of predictions people were making were based off of the content we got in 2016, which meant that the actual content for 2017 took the majority of us by surprise. And as I'm sure many of you would agree, surprises like this are oftentimes a lot more interesting and exciting than getting exactly what you expect. And thus, even if we have general knowledge regarding what the event will be about, Blizzard can still make them feel unique and interesting by thinking one step ahead and introducing new content themes that we don't see coming. Now, getting back to the Year of the Dog example, I wouldn't be surprised if we got some dog and or Lunar New Year themed skins or other cosmetics. But I think both us and Blizzard can do better than that. For example, looking at another holiday that's around the same time, I could see them adding Valentine's Day content. While Blizzard had confirmed last year that 2017 would have no Valentine's Day specific event, I wouldn't be surprised to see them, in a way, merge the holiday into the Year of the Dog event. It wouldn't even have to dominate as the event's main theme. They could replicate what they did for Halloween Terror, in that it would take elements from multiple different cultures and/or holidays in order to have a nice variety. There could even also be tie-ins from other nations' New Year's traditions. I don't want to go too in-depth with my thoughts about this, as I still plan to make a separate video completely dedicated to Year of the Dog predictions. But I will just end it here by saying that we shouldn't box ourselves in to just thinking of new skins and content that fits with the same East Asian theme we got last year. Instead, we could get something completely different. This idea of surprising repeated event themes gets even more interesting when you take into account events like Uprising. While I think this event will always be designated as the lore event, we can likely expect that it won't always be concerning Overwatch the organization. There's already evidence to suggest a possible Talon-themed story with Moira and Doomfist voice lines addressing Null Sector units.
Null Trooper down. Eradicator eliminated. Detonator inbound.
Then again, perhaps this is only an indicator that the Uprising game mode will return, as we've seen with every other repeated events game mode, and therefore it doesn't actually tell us anything regarding this year's theme. There's a lot of speculation to be had here, but beyond just Talon and Overwatch, we could even perhaps get themes based on other factions in the Overwatch universe, such as the Junkers or Shimada clan. Could you imagine if people were making predictions about more old Overwatch-style outfits for characters, only for us to instead get a Junker event where lots of heroes get post-apocalyptic themed cosmetics? I suppose people's responses will be largely based on subjective opinion for something like this, but the main idea is just to keep thinking outside of the box. Furthermore, we have no idea how frequently previously seen event themes will cycle into the spotlight again. Will Winter Wonderland 2018 have new Christmas-themed skins again? Or will it be stuff entirely different from what we saw either year prior? Maybe eventually, every event will lose a distinct yearly theme and become like Halloween Terror, where it just has a few aspects from multiple different concepts or cultures. I guess the real idea to keep in mind after all this is just that we may never know what to expect for an upcoming event, and I think that's definitely a good thing. As much fun as it is to make tons of educated predictions, Blizzard will likely always surprise us in one way or another. But at the end of the day, getting surprised by unforeseen new content is just as much fun as coming up with our own clever speculations, so I'm okay with continuing to have both. Just expect the unexpected, and it doesn't look like you can lose. Anyways, thank you all for watching through this labyrinth of ideas. Hopefully you've stayed enough on track to this point that I can ask you to leave your own thoughts about Blizzard's strategy in the comments down below. Do you think they're doing a good job of keeping repeated events still feeling fresh? Or do you think they need to do something different? Either way, I'd love to hear your opinion, and you can even cast your vote regarding it in today's poll card. Also, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit the bell icon to both help out my channel and keep up with all my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.